Welcome, one, welcome all to another episode of Unscripted Liberation Codes. I am your co host, Alex Liberato, and with me is the legendary, the ancient, the kind of weird sometimes.
All the
my,
time.
BF, my BFF Soul Bro from another star system, Mario Mijares. Welcome to the
Hey,
program.
hey, thank you, Alex. Man, I love that intro. That's amazing. You did an amazing job on that. That's so awesome. I was just like cheesy smile the whole time. Us in the space
Oh, yeah.
suit floating out there. It's amazing.
So
I
good
hope you
shit,
guys
right?
enjoyed that as much as I did.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're here to have fun, and that's what we're to. I mean, we're here to unpack a lot of things and to rip a new timeline into the space time continuum. But also, let's fucking have fun while we're doing it, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
why
Mm-hmm.
why
Mark.
incarnate in human form
Right.
otherwise?
That's why one
Um,
of my other names is the Salsa Shaman, because I'm like, oh fuck, man, Earth is in spiritual warfare. Well, they're gonna need some chips and salsa, man. Like, I gotta bring the party. I gotta bring the fiesta. So that's why I'm the Salsa Shaman. Gotta spice it up. Everybody loves chips and dip.
Bitches gotta eat.
Bitches
Yeah.
gotta eat.
Well, you that is how you specifically, I think, fix problems. You're like, humans are malnourished and they eat poison a
Mhm.
lot. So what if I take Ayurvedic medicine and I shove it in salsa and shove it in your mouth hole?
Yeah,
It's good. It's good
delicious.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, I'm super excited about what we have on the docket today, my good sir, because we were talking offline about. I mean, I know our last stream was about kind of foraying and tiptoeing into your experience in the secret space program and the glimmers and memories and stuff that's like coming up from that.
Yeah.
Something we didn't touch on was how these things that were dormant, that maybe you were never supposed to open, like how did those even pop open? And it's sounding like traumatic aspects or totally crazy out of left field things occurred or were like
Mhm.
dropped into your timeline that kind of
Mhm.
forced you to look inside and to figure shit out. So I just thought that could be fun to unpack today.
Yeah. Thank you. And real quick, just for anybody that's tunes into this channel, just first off, I want to say thank you for choosing to spend your time and sitting with us and listening to us talk, and for subscribing to us on Rumble and YouTube. And we got an Instagram page, Unscripted Liberation Codes. And, following that, I also want to say before we get into this that if you saw the part one of us beginning this journey and starting to talk about what it's been like for me in remembering and waking up to the fact that I've been connected to certain shadow government programs. Just to keep in mind and understand that this is a really challenging topic at times for me to discuss. Nor I know a lot of the times normally my demeanor is just like fun, whatever, party and all that stuff. But there's a much more deeper private layer of Mario that has really had to go through this intense journey in realizing that these connections are true and real. So I want to put that out there first because in no fashion, in no way am I or Alex and I are doing this to have these discussions for likes, for clout, for attention, or to seem cool, or to seem like we want to ride the wave of an up and coming, hot trendy topic. It is far from that. And the reason why, we're doing this is because awakening is happening on planet Earth. Consciousness is realizing, that that there's so much more to the fabrics of reality than we've been conditioned to, through generations and going to indoctrination camp, aka public school. So disclosure is happening and we are disclosure. And it's folks like Alex and I that share our stories that help disclosure be realized now. So us coming together and unpacking this story, this journey together, it's coming with the intention and with the mission that it needs to happen because of what has been going on behind our backs in the world. And, so we're waking up from the dream spell.
You're here. I think it's like a small exclusive club, not necessarily keeping people out or not letting people in, but it's just sort of a if you know, you know, and if you're a part of it, you're part of it. And so it's not to say like we're the first people to discover a band before it goes big, but there is something a little bit like that. Like what we kind of discuss here in our little club or little, room or speakeasy maybe
Mm-hmm.
might show up in the there's a lot of TikTok trends and a lot of this and that, but this is where the meat and the substance happens.
Mm-hmm.
And Mario, we got Crystal here in the live stream saying
Hey.
preach. And also shout out to Debbie coming to us from Washington. Grand
Hey,
Rising,
Debbie.
everyone.
Grand Rising. Grand Rising.
Southwest Washington, what up?
Oh
I'm a little
yeah,
bit
bro. She
north of
lives in your
you.
neck of the woods. She does, and she's
Hey,
like a naturopath. She's got herbs, and you guys should connect. Debbie and Alex, you guys definitely should connect. You guys are neighbors.
hell yeah. Hey, Queen. I'll do that. Give me some herbs.
Yes. um.
Awesome.
So okay, we're right now we're just going to I'm just going to really streamline a lot of the things. And Alex and I, we were talking about um before we went live, and to his question, and what it says right there, how traumatic physical events informed my awakening. So back in 2000 or 2013, I was 23 years old. That year I was hit by motor vehicles while riding a bicycle on three separate occasions, all in the same year within 6 months. The first car that hit me was on the spring equinox. So it was like March 21st, March 22nd. And we're about to approach that equinox right now. So this was 11 years ago at this point. The first car hit me on the equinox. The second car hit me September. It was Labor Day. I think one of those holidays in September. I'm pretty sure it was Labor Day or Memorial Day. Um, I got hit by the car for a second time. And then the third time I got hit by a car was the same month, like barely 3 weeks later. The third car hit me on the fall equinox. So the beginning, and then the end, the spring, the starting of life, and then the end, the ending of life. So I find that, that synchronicity being really interesting. So getting hit by cars three times in 1 year within 6 months, that's really, really weird, really unusual. And from the time that that happened, it stirred a massive movement within me, because up until that point, I had been like really diligently, passionately on my path, practicing spiritual. Like I was praying multiple times a day, yoga, eating right. I was like sober, like I was like, you know, I'm going to do this spiritual work. And so getting hit by those cars, it stirred this massive confusion for me, especially the last one, because I did hit my head. And it started this confusion of like, okay, why is this happening? God, am I not doing everything right? Why is this fucked up shit happening to me? I'm trying to get ahead in life. I had a great job. I was being trained by a multi-billion-dollar company to be a mechanical engineer. I was making really good money at a young age, but it was very hard work. So my life got completely derailed, and I had to move back to Oregon. And in Oregon, I recover from my injuries and eventually go to Job Corps. So it's a Job Corps is a school to be trained and get educated on a skilled labor. And being at Job Corps, which the facility of the Job Corps that I was on, which was in Astoria, Oregon, was on an old military naval base. So it was a naval base that was established during World War I, World War II, and it's now a vocational trade school, that there are hundreds of students living there at any given moment from the age 14 to 24. And there's lots of talks amongst that area of there being ghosts and stuff like that from old military, soldiers. Well, while I was there, I started to have a lot of interesting dreams, and I won't go into all of them, but I'll share one dream. Um, and I'm going to skip all the details and get to the point when a UFO craft came down where I was in the forest, came down and hovered over a body of water. And there was a being in that craft. And we started having like this telepathic experience that felt like this, like we were really close and far away and really close and far away. And the being in the craft told me that I was Arcturian, that I come from Arcturus, that I'm Arcturian. Never heard that word before, and I heard it first in a
Did you
dream.
think you were cosmic at all? Or were you just like, what are you even saying?
No, because all the way up until that point, I like my attitude was like really like ninja about my spiritual path. I was against crystals, I was against oils, I was against tarot cards because I felt that they cheated us from accomplishing the true goal, which was mastering our minds and having a strong willpower that is able to tap into everything on its own, not needing crystals, not needing oils, not needing herbs, not needing anything. So I was very like I was militant about my spiritual path and really like strict. So I was not into the starseed stuff at all. I didn't hear about the word starseed until after this dream. The bunch of series of events unfolded after this dream. So, this being telling me that I'm from Arcturian or Arcturus, whatever. And then he told me to get ready because the world as I understand it is going to change forever. And he said that intensity is going to increase in 2 year increments. So he's like, 2 years from now, everything's going to change. And every 2 years moving forward is going to be a massive leap in things shifting in the world. So that dream happened in 2015 or 2014. It's crazy how the lines blur, right? So, I wake up from that dream and I'm like, what the hell is Arcturus? What the hell is Arcturian? So I start Googling Arcturian just to see if it's even a real word. And the first thing that comes up was Arcturus Ra, from YouTube. And I'm like, okay,
Oh,
Arcturus
yeah.
Ra, who is this guy? And I start watching his YouTube videos and I'm like, whoa, okay, so this whole Arcturian thing is real and it's like an alien thing. And this guy believes he's Arcturian or whatever. And, I just kind of moved on, right? And then eventually, not long after that, another friend was like, "You're a star seed," and I'm like, "What the fuck is a star seed?"
What is that?
The hell's a star seed? And then also at that point, I started experiencing an uptick in anxiety, like a lot of anxiety, and like my mental health was struggling. And on that whole Facebook Galactic Federation page, I think I made some posts like, "Hey, I'm really struggling, blah blah blah," and everybody was like, "Oh, you need lavender essential oils, and you need to get a crystal. You should get labradorite crystal or some shit." And I'm like, "Really? That's fucking so gay." But
What-
but what I'm open to options at this point. So I go down to the local crystal shop and I buy a little thing of lavender oil, and I buy my very first crystal ever, which was a labradorite heart-shaped crystal. And I didn't know what to do with it, so I would go on long walks and just hold on to it and just squeeze it and hold on to it. And then eventually that labradorite, I recognize its energy with me in my mind, helping me expand my perceptions and what I was processing. So then I was like, oh shit, these things really do work. Like there really is something to it. So anyways, starseed crystals, Arcturian. My soul origin is from Arcturus, which through remote viewers and other psychics, I've had that confirmed a handful of times. So, I've been hit by cars 3 times. Then, um, going into 2016, 3 years after getting hit by cars, um, I suddenly started experiencing excruciating chronic pain in my body and in my back. And that was also confusing because I had recovered from the car accidents and was like really fit and super active, Like my physical strength and stamina is so ridiculous. Like one time I rode my bike from Astoria to Portland just to save
Yo,
20 from a Greyhound ride so I can make sure I had beer money when I got to
also, this
Portland.
wasn't part of like Portland to Coast or anything like that, or
No,
like
no,
some
no. I
form
did it
of
on my
like
own, bro. I did it on my own, dude. I forgot the
you're a
name of
cheap
the highway. I
motherfucker.
think it was like Highway 15 or whatever, which like goes up two fucking mountains, you know?
Yeah,
And it was like 111 or 120-mile bike ride that I did in one day just to save
fucking
$20.
beast
So I
mode.
had beer money when I got to town. But like that's how intense like my energy and my strength was, you know, like super fucking powerful. And anyways, so then 2016 comes around, and all of a sudden I'm like weak and in pain, and I'm like, this makes no goddamn sense. And is it are injuries hurting all of a sudden from getting hit by cars? And so that began to happen, and next thing I know, I can hardly get out of bed, and I'm having moments where I can't use my legs, and I'm like collapsing, and I'm starting to experience all kinds of weird things in my brain and in dreams and stuff, all the way leading to the point of October 10th, 2016. So 10/10/2016, I had a stroke. I had like a really painful, massive stroke experience, which never really did get confirmed as a stroke, but that's what it was. The doctors, the paramedics, they had no idea what was going on, but they could see that like that's what it looks like when someone's going through a stroke, but we don't understand what's happening to him. You know what I mean? You have a
Wow.
question?
No, I mean, there's just like no evident blood clot or anything like that. They're just like you're kind of going through the motions of a stroke
It was
without an
so weird,
emphasis.
and so I'm skipping so much details from the story and just like sticking to the things that happened. And
It's a
so
huge story, dude.
a huge story. I mean, this is years and years of stuff to unpack. And so paramedics were first thing they were wondering. They're like, "Is he on drugs?" And my roommates were like, "No, but he smokes a lot of weed. All we know is that he has a lot of like intense back pain." And they're like, "Okay." And then when they take me to the hospital, they're like, "Is he on drugs?" And while I was going through that stroke experience, I was like, I was not breathing for, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 minutes, or it was like no breath. And my heart was like, and they were ready to, clear me if I were to like die. So while that was happening, I was just like in excruciating pain. And I felt like what I call angels, but in another way of calling them are as my star family, my star family were there with, like, I felt them like with me, telling me like, this is okay, like trust this, we're so sorry that you're having to go through this, but it's necessary, this is necessary, just understand, like you're gonna be okay and all this stuff. And so I went through that. And after having the stroke and getting hit by cars in 2016, the years follow going into 2017 and 2018, I I had completely started to change at that point, because it felt like the world, like the universe was trying to beat me down. You know what I mean? I was once this very proud, strong, very physically capable person, suddenly can't even walk, suddenly can barely stand on my legs, suddenly having things happen to me before, like, but with having no any understanding to it. So I started to shift my mental health, and my psychological patterns started to slowly change. I was weakening on so many different layers. Now, going fast, and then at some point in between all of that, that's when you and I became friends. I think it was maybe 2017, a year after my stroke. You and I, we found each other on Facebook, on the Galactic Federation Facebook page, and we fucking hit it off. We became homies instantly. And so, I remember the day when I got in 2018. I remember the day I got my MRI results. We were at your house on your
Yeah.
porch, and so like you guys don't know how long Alex and I have been, continuously attempting to start a podcast together. But the both of us just weren't like ready or there yet. But we knew we had the chemistry and the relationship to make a podcast and have fun. And so back in 2018, I get an email from my doctor, and there's the MRI results, and we're getting ready, to have our first attempt of a podcast. And what did we call it back then?
Oh, disclosure on deck.
Disclosure on deck. I love it. I get the email and I'm like, bro, it says I have a, I don't even remember what it said. It says I have a, I don't know, I don't remember how they worded it, but it was a tumor on my pituitary gland. And you were like, you have a fucking tumor on your pituitary gland? And we were both like, shut it down. We both suppressed it real quick. We like, let's not open that right now. Let's just and then so going back, 2013, hit by cars 3 times within 6 months. 2016, had a very intense, painful stroke. 2018, I got the MRI results of my brain tumors. Actually, I actually had two. One right here on my pituitary gland, and another one back here at the very base of my skull, where it connects to the top of your spine, and it's on a bone called the clivus or the clivus or the clivus or I don't know how to pronounce it. And that one is weird. I don't really understand that one, and they didn't understand it either. All they were able to tell me what was being picked up on the MRI scans was that what it was detecting was like grains of glass or grains of crystal that was creating its own signals in the MRI that was picking up. So I don't know. It's a mystery to me. Maybe it's where my superpower is.
We kind
Um,
of talked about that at the time. We were like, I mean, are these implants? Because the positioning of them seemed really sus. Like it
yeah.
was like, oh, that's just perfectly placed and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, and it was perfect. It was dead center. It was dead center on the pituitary gland. And so going like the what that tumor was doing on my pituitary gland was it was shutting down my whole body's endocrine systems. So it was shutting down my body's ability to produce testosterone, cortisol, other proper hormones, and it was making my hypothalamus and my pituitary produce an insane amount of prolactin. And prolactin is a feminine hormone that is within every body, but it's a feminine hormone that is only supposed to elevate for biological women that are producing a baby and have given birth, because that's the hormone that increases to create the milk in the breast to lactate. So that's prolactin. My prolactin levels, this is the way my doctors described it, my prolactin levels were in levels in women that they see that are suffering from severe postpartum depression. And so as a man in a man's body with testicles, where I'm supposed to be running on testosterone,
Yeah.
I I was, had no testosterone and was all prolactin. Like I was like, my nipples were getting itchy, bro, like weird shit, man.
Wow.
Weird fucking shit that I was going through. Anyways, during those years, where I was going through those things, which was like a period of, let's see, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, going into 2019, 7 years, you guys. My whole 20s eras was like nothing but intense crisis. So while going through those years, I'm having a lot of different dreams, a lot of different psychic experiences. Some of these dreams were like direct contact with spirits or higher celestial energies that gave me profound prophetic visions. Other aspects of my dreaming life were very intense and darker, and felt like I was fighting like demons and having like military experiences. I've had dreams of being in the military, traveling to different worlds or different timelines and having other experiences. So during those years, of going through those crises, I started experiencing a lot of things, not just in the dream world, but also in real life. Like you can even ask Alex, he's been with me when we explore downtown, where like you were there with me, bro, that one time when we were standing somewhere in downtown Portland and some fucking guy walks straight up to me to hand me a can of Sprite or can of Pepsi, and I'm like, I don't want it, and he's like, take it, and I'm like, I know, I don't want it, and he was insistent, and I took it from him, and it was completely empty. There was no holes in it. There was nothing in it. And then like he like gave me like a fucking riddle or some shit. He's like something like figure it out. And it just made me angry because at that point, like so much weird shit like that had kept happening that I started to feel like it was all intentional. I started to
Mhm.
feel like cuz like I'm being watched. I started to feel like I was being watched, like I was being monitored, like people were legit fucking with me. And
That was something that, so as an outside observer, like I was never I was never like gang stalked, but I was gang stalked adjacent. Every time I was with you, we would have some weird shit happen. So like I've been with like somebody smoking and paranoid, and they're like, "Is everybody looking at me?" It's like, no, we're like stoned in a mall. Like, calm down. But like you, like there would be like a guy like at the bar,
or a
like fucking
girl.
staring, or a girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it was a guy, I would always like make him feel gay weird, and I'd like blow him a kiss or something like that. I'd be like, "Well, I mean, if you're gonna stare, you're gonna fucking stare." Like, I mean, it's like, let's fucking take it there. Because the weirdness that would happen to you was really strange, and as a witness to this, I just thought that was bizarre. Case in point, one time we're on the phone, and you're like, this stuff kind of happens. It's weird, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I have this like but I have this condo with panoramic windows that look out to like 7 bridges on Portland's waterfront, and a guy like, and there's like a lookout stoop, so it's
Mhm.
visible, but it's far. It's not like right next to my window, but like, you don't stand naked in front of the window, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm like, blah blah blah, Mario, blah blah blah, and I'm like standing there, and a guy just like it's like there, and he just like looks fucking into my house, like makes eye contact with me, and I have tinted windows, and I'm like, oh my god, I fucking call you back, Mario. And the minute I like, anytime I'd hang up with you or like leave you, it would stop. But if I was like next to you, shit would happen, and it was bizarre to the point of like it's either supernatural or deploying a higher technology. It was something. It
Mhm.
wasn't
Mhm.
like, why is everybody looking at me? I'm so popular. It was not that.
Right,
It
right,
was
right.
it was curious for
I
sure.
know, and like for you guys listening to us right now, Alex and I are not like, you know, like delusional. Let's escape into a fantasy. Like we're both air signs. I'm a Gemini. He's an Aquarius. So naturally, we like to process things on like a highly intellectual standpoint, and it's not immediately emotional. It's immediately like, okay, I'm recognizing phenomenon. What could it mean? You know what I mean? So if you're tuning into us, we don't just immediately run and make shit up. We observe and we're like, okay, like, and then eventually what happens is there's a pattern, right? And once then a pattern starts to happen and then things turn into receipts and facts and then we eventually form conclusions. And so, yeah, we would have, oh my gosh, just another quick side story. Remember that time when I was over at your place and this was like, I think 2019 where I was like starting to do better. I got the promotion at the job and was making like really good money. And I was hanging out with you and Will, and I was telling you guys about one of the public hearing events that I was participating in, that there was a homeless guy that just like interrupted and started talking about like government conspiracies and like is the earth flat and all this stuff and like what we should do. And I'm explaining to you guys like how crazy and like weird this guy is, and like that he looks homeless. He was dressed homeless. He had a dog, but you could tell this guy is not a homeless man. Like you could tell by his face, the way he carries himself. Like this dude is like super intelligent. There's no reason why he should be fucking homeless. So I thought it was more of like a disguise. And I remember, oh my God, you guys, I'm telling Alex and his fiance this story, and we're chilling, we're drinking, and then I look out that same fucking window. I look out that same fucking window. That guy was walking past his apartment in Portland. and where Alex's apartment is miles and miles away from where that public hearing was. They were not in the same district in Portland. So weird shit like that.
I
So
remember that because you were like, oh my god, that's I think that's that guy, and like there's a lot of homeless in Portland, so it's actually a great like it's a great way to hide. Like when the CIA goes abroad, they disguise themselves as Mormon missionaries. Why? Because it makes sense for like two dumb white dudes to be walking around, and then nobody wants to talk to them.
mhm,
So I remember that because that also brought up, tangent. We'll get back to your story, but like we'd have our like UFO kind of experiencers meet up,
yeah,
and then a similar type of guy would always show up. And when the conversation was getting great, because it was like this great underground event, and it's like these experiencers from all over town, he would just like go into a tirade, and it was almost like too well timed. Like it wasn't
yeah,
just like I got crazy thoughts and we're like shut up. It
mhm,
was like he would like go in and it's like, all right, now I gotta fuck this room up a
yeah. And it
little.
was always
I
flat
gotta
Earth.
shake it. It was always
Anytime,
flat earth.
anytime that happened, it was always somebody with flat Earth.
Oh my god! And because it gets half the room being like, "You probably have a point," and then half the room's like, "Fuck you, it's dumb," and I'm like, "Whatever, it's a hologram." Like,
Uh
we
huh.
were we
Uh
were
huh.
doing good. It's like two people like people having sex, and then like somebody farts and ruins the mood. You know what I mean? And that's the best metaphor I can come up with. And I have bad dumb metaphors, but so you would
That's
have
good.
these like weird like we would have these events like Portland was like this little spot of like cosmic consciousness. Things would awaken and come online, and people were kind of coming together. And then you'd
Hmm.
have these like interests, agents, I'm willing to say, that would like kind of come in and be like, well, let's fuck shit up. And it was
Hmm.
really like just the things yeah. My
Hmm.
God, like there's so many live streams we're gonna do. Like it's gonna take us years to unpack every single.
I
It's
know. I
amazing how
know.
much we crammed into those few years.
Yep.
But
So going back to things, so during those years, right after I had the stroke and before I had the diagnosis of the brain tumor, I had a fucking stroke, and I'm seeing doctors, I'm seeing neurologists, I'm seeing all kinds of doctors, and I'm telling them what I've been experiencing over the past few years, and without even giving me a single diagnosis, like I mean, a single like blood test or exam or X-ray or MRI, they just go, sounds like you're bipolar. Sounds like your mental health is struggling with traumas in your past. And it sounds like you have traumatic brain injury from when you got hit by cars. So here's all these medications, right? But at that point, I was already weakened. I've always been against medication. But at that point, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Things are happening beyond my control. I just want help. So I started taking that. So that was another layer of with the pituitary. Before I knew I had the pituitary tumor, it was another layer of being misdiagnosed and pumped with all the wrong medications. So during that time, I wasn't really working. I couldn't work. I was like surviving off the graciousness of friends. Alex supported me a lot and was crashing in the living room floor of a mold infested apartment. So at that time I had a lot of time in my hands and started watching things on YouTube. And that's when I came across the work of Corey Good and David Wilcock talking about the secret space program and Corey's experience in the 20 and back program. Yes, I know things are different now. Corey's now seen in a different light due to things that have uncovered over the years. But back then, that work really influenced a massive awakening in this movement.
he was coming on the scene. Yeah.
He was coming on the scene, and at that point, it was more at that in the beginning. I was paying attention and watching all the videos and lectures of him and other people. Even came across James Rink from Super Soldier Talk and his channel. And at that point, I felt really connected to it because it felt true. Everything that these people were talking about felt very true. And and previous to coming across their information, I was already having dream time experiences. So now I find an avenue of people that are finally giving me information that are making connections to all of my supernatural experiences that I've been having privately. So now I'm like, okay, I think I might have found people or a community that might have answers and can help. Wasn't until after Dimensions of Disclosure, after Dimensions of Disclosure 2019. Both Alex and I went there. It was a massive event. There were tons of people there. It was a huge nodal point. It was a huge nodal point in time where a lot of people with, you know, yeah. So
Absolute nexus. Yeah.
total
Which
nexus point.
we could spend a whole episode unpacking that. My God.
So after that, I started working with somebody, sharing what I've been going through in my life with my tumors and the strokes and whatnot. And this individual, she made me promise to never share her name publicly. So
Okay.
I keep that promise. She's like, don't ever share my name out there. She's like, I don't, because I know what it's like when you put yourself out there, and quite frankly, like I don't want to experience that kind of energy. But I'll help you, So I'm like, okay, I promise I'll never share your name publicly or whatever. So, anyways, this person, yep,
Keep going. I have a
okay.
cat.
So, okay. So this person, was born in the late '60s. So she was part of the first, generation of people that started being recruited for these shadow government programs. Her father was actually an engineer that developed, I think I forgot what missiles, the Tomahawk missile or some crazy missile. So she grew up, around the White House. She remember being in the same rooms of President Nixon and all that kind of stuff. And so, her family was definitely in during that time.
I think I remember.
You know
She
who I'm
was,
talking about.
yeah,
Keep
yeah,
going.
a presidential model, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, this person starts helping me, like, put pieces together, and then and helping me realize, like, oh my gosh, so the dreams I've been having, the memories I've been having, are actually real. And remember in our first episode last week, I shared about dreams reoccurring dreams that I was having when I was a child, such as being an animal, and then also being a detective solving these series of murders. So she's the one who asked me, like, in what universe is it normal for a child of that age to start having those kinds of dreams? It's not. Let me tell you really what they were. And then it also wasn't until I started to show her my art, my artwork. And for those of you guys that don't know, like I'm a channel. Like I streamline, I channel, and it sometimes it happens without me even realizing that I'm doing it. But when I set the stage for me to, like, start channeling some art, like, it's a whole process where I got to clear the space, and I just stare at a blank piece of paper and disassociate, lighten my focus in my gaze, and then the images start coming through, and I just start, sketching. And then as I keep going, more and more things come in through me to add to the paper. And then the next thing I know, I have a massive portrait that's like alive, carrying all kinds of informations and codes and layers of being, looked at. Like, Alex seen tons of my art, and he's like, dude, this is fucking crazy shit you're drawing. So it wasn't until she started to see my art where she's like, where I'm trying to explain my interpretation, right? I'm like, oh yeah, this piece is, means this and that. She's like, no, 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 no. I don't want to hear anything of what you think this art means, because you don't realize how many programs are operating in your mind to keep you confused. I need to look into this psychically without your input. And I was just like, oh shit, okay. Um, and so, she started, because I drew this art, and you can see it in one of the videos that's on our Rumble channel of us talking, of me talking about a memory connection of that was triggered through the movie Space Jam, the first Space Jam movie. I drew a portrait of me sitting on a chair in a white room that's completely white, looking at the wall at a screen. And behind the screen, there are a bunch of ones and zeros, and then an I that represents AI. And so, you know, I for me, it was like, oh yeah, I'm meditating in this room and I'm trying to ascend my consciousness. And she's like, no, 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 you're sitting on the trip chair. You're sitting on the trip chair getting MK Ultra. You know, you're getting programmed sitting on this chair and this white room. Like, there's no coincidence that you made this room completely white and covered with black and white checkers. Like, it's because it's a hyperbolic chamber, so no interference can come in um, during your program within, you know, sitting on the trip chair. And the moment she started saying trip chair, you know, the both of us started getting like heavy psychic attack. And she's like, they're really mad that I even just told you that one word, trip chair, because that one word on its own opened up a whole can of worms for you to discover on your own. And I'm just going to stop right there and let you know that this art is not what you originally think it is, that there's a whole lot more to unpack in all of your arts that you channel. So it wasn't until that point, which was towards the end of 2019, after Dimensions of Disclosure, where now I'm at this point of like, okay, so everything that I've been experiencing is probably because I'm also one of these people that are sharing their stories, being in these you know, secret space programs, because it's very much the same. And something I was telling Alex is that, you know, growing up as a child, not only did I have a lot of unusual dreams, but I experienced bloody noses all the time. My nose used to profusely bleed, and like clots would come out, like really bad bloody noses. I used to, you know, I would always disassociate and like be in another space. And it was when I would like daydream and be in another space, right before coming back, my nose would start bleeding, you know? And I would wake up in the middle of the night with bloody noses all the time. You know, you can ask my family, you can ask everybody, like really intense bloody noses. And I dealt with headaches as a child and would always have very high fevers multiple times of the year. So these are really like unusual things. You know, I know everybody gets bloody noses, but the chronic level that I was having and tied in with all my other experiences, unusual. And then like around the age 12, 13 years old, I had kidney stones. You know, I had kidney stones as a child. That's not a normal thing for
That's weird.
a child body to have. You don't develop those things until you're an adult. And I had kidney stones. And then another thing, at 17 years old, I had shingles, you know, which people don't get shingles until they're like in their 70s, you know, in their 70s and their 80s, you know, if you get shingles. So, you know, getting shingles at 17 years old, super weird, you know, how does that happen? So these were other things that this person who helped me, you know, realize that I'm not only interested in these people's stories because I find them fascinating and I feel connections, but because I have my own story as well. So, oh wow, Crystal, you had shingles at age 10? That is crazy. I had them when I was 17. Um, so, you know, these things super unusual for children to have if you've, you know, already had chickenpox and all that. So, you know, yeah, I think we're good for this episode and the amount of things we put out there. But before we start wrapping it up, you know, um, the year I found out I had the brain tumors, it took a whole other 6 months after getting those MRI results to my insurance to approve me of seeing specialists to actually treat it. So it's not like, you know, so for like 6 months, I was in limbo, knowing that I had tumors, but not knowing if they were cancerous or if I was dying. So they kept me in limbo for 6 months, and I got so fucking depressed during that time. And when my insurance finally approved me to see specialists, they scheduled 2 doctor's appointments for me. Why does that keep happening? Why does that keep, bro?
I think you did a finger thing. It's just us two making weird fingers at the camera.
What the
Um,
fuck?
you could, yeah. Maybe it's like a weird FaceTime thing or photo booth thing.
I don't know, dude. It, my whole time having this computer,
I was depressed, and then balloons come.
and then, but you know that, what the hell? Weird. I like it
That's
though.
great.
So you know, they made 2 doctor's appointments for me, trying to make it happen again. um, And one was for a neurosurgeon, and another one was for an endocrinologist. And I don't know how these appointments are supposed to work. So my first appointment to go see the neurosurgeon was in this massive hospital, St. Vincent Hospital in Oregon. It's a huge fucking hospital. And I'm going, and I'm going to go see this neurosurgeon to talk about the tumors and seeing what we can do. And when I get called into the room where the doctor's supposed to come see me, suddenly that floor, that wing of the hospital, only that wing of the hospital, the power went out. There was a total blackout. Only on that floor and in that section of the hospital, only total power blackout. And it was blacked out for almost an entire hour. So more weird shit, right?
Yeah.
And when things get back up and running, and I'm now, in front of Dr. Gore, he's like, "Okay, hey, nice to meet you. Sorry about all that. What did the endocrinologist tell you about these results?" And I was like, "I haven't seen the endocrinologist." "Well, I can't help you. You're supposed to see endocrinology first and then neurosurgeon. So I'm so sorry for this being an entire waste of your day, but I can't help you until you see this other doctor first." So I'm like, Jesus fucking A, I've already waited 6 months. Then when it was finally time to see the endocrinologist, who her name is Dr. Fawn Wolf, maybe she's a normal doctor or whatever, but at this point, when you've been going through a lot of weird things, like, you know, she's on my sketchy radar. You know what I mean? She's like, I don't know, you feel really like, CIA agent kind of, to
It
me.
feels
But
like either a drag name or a cover name. Fawn.
right.
My name is,
Fawn
and
Wolf,
she's looking
which
at
is
it.
Prey and Predator. Fawn Wolf. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. I just thought she was like looking at an animal calendar, and she's like, "I'm a fawn wolf."
So, you know, when I am going to go see, her, my first appointment, I walk into the info desk, and I'm like, "I'm here to see Dr. Fawn Wolf, endocrinology." And the lady is like, "Okay, yeah, go down that wing of the hospital, take this elevator, go up that floor." And it was like the fifth or seventh floor. And she's like, then it's this room. So we take the elevator, we go, and I say we because someone was with me. The moment we stepped out of the elevator, the fire alarm goes off only in that section of the hospital, that wing of the. So the fire alarm goes off, and now the whole building of that section is being evacuated, and there's hundreds of people walking down the stairs, going all the way to the first floor lobby, and then some fucking custodial facility janitor comes out and was like, "It was a false alarm, everybody. We don't know what happened, but yeah, you guys can all go." And at this point, I'm like stressed because you only get a certain amount of time to be late for your appointment. But I'm like, okay, they're gonna have an exception because this all happened to us, right? I get back up there. It's like almost an hour past my appointment, and I go to the fucking room they told me to go to, and I'm like, "I'm here to see Dr. Fawn Wolf, blah blah blah." The woman's like, "You're in the wrong section of the hospital." Like, and she doesn't work in this section or this floor of the hospital. You have to go all the way to the other side of the hospital. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Are you
Oh
kidding
my
me?"
god.
So, then when I get there, they're like, "Oh, you're like so late." I'm like, "No, I'm not going anywhere." Okay. There was a fucking fire alarm. They told me to go over there, and like, it's not my fault. You can call everybody and confirm I'm not going anywhere. It's not my fault. I was late. Like, I've waited 6 months. I'm seeing this damn doctor, you know, and then I did, right. Then they started putting me on this medication, and during that time, in towards the end of 2019, I was really reaching an intense breaking point in breaking out of the conditioning and the program and the all the spells and the attacks, the voice to skull or whatever, all that kind of stuff. I was at a really huge point of overcoming that kind of level of psychic sabotage and attack, where I started to hear an uptake in frequencies in my ear, a lot of static noises, and every once in a while I would actually hear um, uh, uh, people talking, and there was a constant like cycle of a voice in my head just saying, "You're worthless, you're worthless, you're a piece of shit, nobody loves you, kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself, right? So at one of these during one of these appointments with Dr. Fawn Wolf, I'm like, it's like I'm a little uncomfortable sharing this with you, but like I've been experiencing, and like I was trying to be vague, but not telling her exactly what was happening. And she's like, huh, almost sounds like the CIA is talking in your mind, huh? And I'm like, and so she says that, and in my mind, I'm like, you fucking bitch, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Because
Like,
that's not how you like. If you were worried about somebody's mental state and you're like, "Oh no, this poor person's having delusions," that is not how you would phrase it. You would
mm-mm,
phrase it infinitely more delicately.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
that's very like to me. I'm just sort of like, we know what's going on. Like,
Uh-huh. So
yeah,
it was after that appointment where I was like, I'm not taking these meds anymore. I'm not taking these meds
shut
anymore.
it down.
I'm not taking,
Like I don't let God. Yeah,
let go, and then going into 2020, that's the story
that's a
for
whole
next
thing.
episode, how 2020, really like changed everything, and I fully like understood and accepted my connections to these things, because this is really hard shit to talk about, you guys. This is not easy, and if you're listening to this and you don't think it's crazy, then I'm worried that you're crazier than I am, because this is fucking crazy shit to talk about. But the evidence, the proof, the receipts, the facts are all there. You just have to do the research yourself to realize that this nefarious shit has been happening to millions of people on planet Earth. It's not an isolated event. It's not just me. It's not just Corey. It's not just James. There are hundreds, thousands, millions of people that have been used and don't remember a thing, and end up dying from a pituitary, end up being homeless, end up killing themselves through those programs. Not everybody survives in unplugging themselves.
No, much like just kind of regular, kind of terrestrial military veterans, like they're used up like a tissue and discarded. Like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for your service," but like no adequate health care, no caring for mental and emotional needs, no access to psychedelics that can help heal and integrate. And I gotta say, like as your soul bro, I'm really glad that you are stepping out on a limb and telling and sharing your story, because I do feel like a lot of people kind of got propped up as thought leaders in this space, and I don't believe they deserved to be, but they were a little bit more like honeypot kind of irrigating people, or oh well, we'll make it a safe space over here, and then we kind of attract everyone, and then ha ha ha, like this is a realm full of like trickery and fuckery and weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
So but all it takes, it's a really small amount of pushback, and all it takes is somebody like you kind of saying like, hey, like anyone else, or like here's my story, come and share yours, and then then the floodgates open. And I think that's really powerful, because we're on the cusp, we're on the it's happening now. I don't even want to say
Yeah,
cusp or
yeah,
precipice.
mhm,
It's already underway,
yeah,
and it's just and the powers that be know, like when you try to hold that in, much like what's his name? The comedian that was well cherished, Bill Cosby, and everybody's like, he's such a family man. He's so wholesome. Basically, anybody who's like portrayed as one thing in the mass media
mhm,
is like the exact opposite.
mhm,
And it just took like a couple. He was joked about for years with his like insane, abusive proclivities and roofying women, and it just took like a couple to just really be like, am I going to be the first one to say it? Like this fucking
right,
happened to me. And then
right,
boom, deluge, and then the
yeah,
floodgates open. And I think this is similar ish, because it's, abuse you underwent. Like you were
mhm,
exploited, used, discarded, like pulled out, toyed with, exploited, used, shoved back in. And then this whole time, like you're trying to be, it's not a gift or blessing to like not have those memories or experiences, even if it was all like with consent, which I think is very
mhm,
manufactured. Like, so you share your story, others share their story, and we reclaim your memories, we reclaim your experience, and we reclaim everything that's your divine inherent birthright as a sovereign being walking around this realm. There's no reason for you to be amnesiac. There's no reason for us in this reincarnational matrix to constantly like if I have to take the traumas from my past life, if I have to take, the karma from my past life, then I get to fucking take the memories, my
Mm-hmm.
fluency in French or whatever. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think we're it's up to us to say what's allowable, what's not allowable. And so for that, basically, I'm just saying thank you for sharing your story and continuing to share your story. And it's such a big story. We're unpacking it over many multiple episodes, and we'll have many different types of things. But just know that like everything you speak, just sharing your experience is in of itself a liberation code. You are unpacking, you're opening, and beyond the small amount of people watching today, someone's going to pull this episode up a couple of weeks from now, and you're going to set off codes in them. Good, liberating,
Mm-hmm.
sovereign, codes, and not like, hypnosis codes. So for that,
Subliminal.
yeah, subliminal. None of that subliminal shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for that, I'm really grateful to you. No
Thank you.
homo.
Thank you. No, it's all good, brother. Yeah. Thank you. I'm really grateful for you too, man. It's been an interesting journey, because like Alex has seen me in some really vulnerable, messy stages coming into this, and like, because like I started remembering things, aspects of me that I had completely forgotten, and
Mhm.
they didn't start surfacing, here and there, and like little bubbling glimpses until I started doing this work. Like, for a brief amount of time in my late teens, I used to have flashbacks, which back then while I was going through it, I used to have, I looked at it as just me having an imagination that is operating beyond my control. But now under this context of, secret space program and remembering, now the way I look at it is I was having flashbacks of being in some type of fighting scenario in the military. And you can ask friends and my sister that we grew up with during this time, where out of nowhere we'd all be hanging out, out of nowhere, and I'd be like, get down, find cover, and I'd start like throwing rocks as if they're grenades, and I'd go like do, you know and for me, like while it was happening, I was like, why am I suddenly doing this? Must be my wild imagination. Whatever, I'm gonna go with it. And so all my friends back then would be like, you're crazy, dude, you're wild. And I had a very different speaking pattern than all my friends too. I'd say things like I'd hand the cell phone over to somebody and I'd be like, locate such and such, and they're like, locate, don't you mean just like, why don't you say call or whatever? you know like, anyways.
That's amazing how that all just like percolates and comes back up.
Right.
Um, God, says Crystal in our chat, it's crazy, but this is a crazy world.
Facts.
And we also got Felicia chiming in 2018, 2019. I heard that too. I heard a song playing, quote, I fucking hate you over and over. It's
Mm,
really, really interesting.
mm-hmm.
Someone's at NORAD, like pushing voice to skull, like, because yeah. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it were pure schizophrenia, if it was just like it's here, your brain's broken. People, in the Eastern Hemisphere, they don't have like such malicious. The talk is not malicious; it's playful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
someone's on a fucking dial, right? Like let's
Yeah.
fucking,
Yeah.
come on. I'm
Yeah.
I'm tired of pretending things aren't there. It's like seeing somebody super obviously gay, and you're like, "Oh, are you
Yeah.
super gay? Are you going to the gay club?" And they're like, "No, why would you think of that?" And you're, "Are we gonna really fucking do this?" Yeah, we're past the
No,
point of
for real.
obviously.
Like so during that time I was also seeing a therapist for a while,
Mhm.
and I was like just kind of going, I wouldn't tell her too much of the woo woo crazy stuff, but just a lot of what I could tell her, because my neurologist, before ever doing any kind of labs, wanted to say that I might be struggling with schizophrenia from the car accidents and things like that. And I'm like, that sounds like bullshit, but let's unpack this. But then my therapist was all like, no, you're not schizophrenic, you're not crazy, you're not bipolar, you're actually very intelligent and highly rational. You've just been going through so much intense things that you don't know how to process it, and you're just trying to piece it together, which can seem like you're crazy, but you're not. You're actually more autistic than schizophrenic. You know what I mean? And so when she said that, I was like, oh, thank God. It's finally. And it was at some point after that where the neurologist was all like, okay, we'll do an MRI. And then the MRI showed tumors, and she calls me personally. I'm sorry.
Well, that also gets at like, I mean, also another topic for another day. But like, if you were white, I feel like your medical, I feel like your medical worries would have been heard. So in a weird way, like your marginalization almost saved you from certain things. But yeah,
Right, right. In
I
some
think
ways, in some ways, I fell through the cracks.
shock, right? Nobody listened to the Mexican dude.
Right.
Shock. Like, what a melting pot we are. Oh my
I
god.
know.
I'm really grateful for you to we've come up to an hour now.
Yeah,
And maybe
let's end it.
we reconvene on Friday, maybe we
Yes.
unpack more. All
Yeah.
right, awesome. All right, everyone. You heard us. So we will be back on Rumble, YouTube, X, maybe Facebook, maybe not. I don't know. I think we get shut down sometimes. Our stream seems to like not stick. Shock, right?
Hmm.
But we'll be back this coming Friday. So if you are an experiencer, or if you are a SSP veteran, or if you have something to lend to the discourse, drop us a note, drop us a PM. Our website's about to debut soon. And we'd love to have you on and talk some more. As the weeks go on, we're going to unpack Mario's cosmic experience, unpack my cosmic experience, and those are more vehicles and devices to just sort of share everything. So it's not necessarily the Alex and Mario show. It's stories are a vehicle. So with that, we hope to see all of you here on Friday. That's at about with the intention to start at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. So kind of have that window open and have your browser open, and we will go live and we will catch you then. All right. Bye, everyone.